This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Philly Sports Guy Show. Today is Tuesday, the 13th of September, and I'm back from Detroit. I tell you, I couldn't do the show yesterday. It's like after being out on Sunday and then trying to drive home on Monday, I was like, you know what? I don't think you guys are going to miss me too much. I was going to go ahead and just let it sit and then be able to talk about the game on Tuesday. I know you guys have been hearing all about everything on sports talk radio and everything. I didn't get to listen to much of anything. I didn't know what's going on in Philadelphia and what everybody thought about this win. I wanted to give my own personal take on this, and I know you guys have been waiting for it all this time. And I tell you, Detroit was a lot of fun. I used to live up in Detroit for a little time back when the Flyers were getting swept by the Red Wings. So it wasn't a very fun time for me to live up there in the sports community because I was getting laughed at by the Detroit fans as the Flyers were going through a choking situation. However, the Detroit sports fans are great fans out there. And I want to thank Ben, who's a good friend of mine, for letting me stay at his place for a couple days, and all of the Detroit faithful. First off, they did come out in droves. They are expecting a much better season this year. All of the Detroit super fans are great people. I love it when a working class city, rallies around their team. And I tell you what, the fact that they have been very faithful to this Lions team says a lot about them specifically because they have not had a lot to cheer about over the last few years. But in week one, everybody starts out the exact same. They are 0-0, and everybody's all excited for the season to come forward. And this game did not disappoint. Obviously, last year was a drubbing that we gave to them on Halloween, 44-6. This year, a whole different story. Eagles do wind up pulling this one out, 38-35. Thank God that they wind up kicking that field goal at the end of the half because it looked like that they were going to wind up just, calling it quits. But Detroit called a timeout. I don't know why they called a timeout at the end of the half, with I guess like a minute left or like 40 seconds left. They called that timeout and they wind up getting that first down. Next thing you know, they wind up going for the field goal. And that proved to be the difference. So a couple of funny calls by Detroit in the grand scheme of things. But ultimately, it was a good win by the offense. The defense has got a little suspect. They are a little suspect, and I see all of the comments. I appreciate them all. I will get to them all. I just wanted to do my little thing first off to start about this. After watching this game, there were a few things that I noticed. One, uh, Devonta Smith. Did we forget about him? Was this just a big deal where we're going to just push to A.J. Brown because he was the shiny toy in this offense here? Because Devontae Smith was 0 catches. He really only threw one ball to him, and I know that he dropped that ball, but it really wasn't the best of throws in that play. So I really wanted to say, I mean, that they need to get him a lot more involved, and he probably will get a lot more involved this week as I expect that the Vikings are going to double Brown. The Vikings have a little bit better defense than the Lions do. That being said, our defense was a little suspect, and I'm not blaming it on the defense itself. I mean, obviously, the fact that Campbell did not continue to run the ball on us was a godsend. Thank you, Dan Campbell, because Dan Campbell, I would say that you specifically, you lost this game for your team. Your team played well enough to win. They just didn't win, and it was because of you. So thank you very much, Dan, for winning one for us. It was really important that you guys did that. A couple of the goofy calls that you made, and I'm not even talking about the onside kick, which I saw clear as day. And that's because we had that special teams coordinator on the Eagles. Flippo was on there. It was him. They knew what he was going to do. So we were ready for it. Like I said, if I could see the play about to happen, I know that the Eagles could see the play about to happen, and we were all ready for that onside kick. There was no question about that whatsoever. So yes, I do believe that the Eagles won this game with a little bit of help from the coach of the Detroit Lions, which was really a shame because if Deuce Staley was doing his thing, he probably would have continued to run the ball, and they were killing us. Swift was killing us all day long. When you get only 15 touches and you're running at almost 10 yards a carry, that's a problem. That is a problem. And I think that has more to do with the scheme than it has to do with with the actual players that are on the field. I'll talk more about that in the second part of this in the first half of this episode, because we're going for a full hour today. There's a lot to talk about, and I want to go all deep dive into this Eagles game. So let's talk about the offense to start off. Obviously, Jalen Hurts, 18 for 32, 243 yards. No turnovers. That's good. No touchdowns. I mean, they rushed it in. That's okay. We could do it that way. He ran for 90 yards as well, an 80.6 passer rating. Now, that's not a great. He went 0 for 7 in his first couple of passes. Obviously, you could tell that Detroit did not know how to handle the running quarterback. This is the only running quarterback that they're going to face until they face I think, the Bills in week 13. So it was just something that they just weren't prepared for. And their defense isn't really set up to be able to handle a running quarterback. That's why Jalen Hurts was able to get around and get 90 yards and a touchdown rushing in this game. Their defense just could not handle that. And they used the aggressiveness of their defensive line, and they blitzed on 40% of the plays going up against the offense. I'll talk about how that, in retrospect to our defense, and like I said, I'm not real happy with Gannon, and it makes me very frustrated that he didn't learn from last year. That he thinks that how this is going to work is just going to be how it is, and it's not. It's absolutely not. You cannot continue to do that. Again, I want to go on my rant later. I don't want to. I want to talk about all the good stuff right now. Sanders gets 96 yards rushing as well. We had a total of 216 yards in total of rushing. Sanders actually had a really good game, 13 touches, 96 yards. Gainwell gets another 20. Like I said, Boston Scott gets another 10. And, of course, Jalen Hurts with 90 on his. He had 17 rushes. Like I said, he was running a little bit for his life at a couple of times. He did throw the ball away properly, and I don't care what everybody says, whether it was intentional grounding or not. A lot of Detroit fans were crying about that. Truth of the matter is that it wasn't intentional grounding. So he was able to get those balls away and really, just like I said, and do what he needed to do to win this game. A.J. Brown. He is as advertised 10 receptions, 155 yards. He had that long for 54 yards. It's a shame he did get caught up on it. Like I said, he was carrying two guys trying to get in the end zone. He wanted to do it in the worst way. It didn't work out for him, but that's okay. Goddard winds up getting 60 yards. It's only three receptions on 4 targets. Devontae Smith, like I said, 4 targets, 0 receptions. That number 0 really holds true, holds big in this. So it's like I want to see them get the ball to him a little bit more. Like I said, I understand AJ Brown was the new shiny toy, and that maybe that first pass specifically didn't started things off in a poor way, but ultimately I want to see them go to him a little bit more. I also want to see them maybe go to Quez Watkins, who really did not play very much at all. I mean, short of punt returns, it's just or kickoffs. He just like I said, where was he? They didn't really feature him much in the offense, and I don't think that they took advantage of. I mean, they had 5 receiver sets, but he didn't really go through a lot of his progressions, mainly because they were on blitzes. So they were blitzing all the time. So he did not have a tremendous amount of time, to be able to sit back in the pocket and go through a lot of his processions. He went to 1 and 2 and then took off. And most of the times, like I said, that Dallas was that second guy, and he was able to find him a couple of times. But short of that, it was the first read, second read, and then go. Looking on the opposite side, Jared Goff went 21 for 37 for 215 yards. He threw for 2 touchdowns. Also, 1 big interception by Bradbury, wound up being a pick 6. Could have been the actual big play of the game where they got that 17-point lead right at that point, or a 14-point lead at that point, and going into the half a little bit better off than they were before. The big receiver for them was St. Brown, who had 8 targets for 64 yards and a touchdown, the longest at 29. Shark also got a touchdown and 52 yards on 4 receptions for the Lions. The big thing, a couple of other things that I noticed in this game, the rushing game and the offensive line, they did have a little bit of trouble with the blitz, but I don't expect that these teams are going to be blitzing so so much as like I said. Detroit was the second most blitzing team this week out of the entire NFL. On the other side of the ball, the Eagles were the last. They blitzed the least amount in comparison. So it was very, very frustrating to watch that in total. You're right, Chris. The Lions are improved. I completely agree that I think that the Lions, after watching this week, I think what I say is going to hold true. I got the Lions in second place in that division. I think that Green Bay showed their colors a little bit and are not that good. I think that Chicago won a game because of its field. That they wound up playing in a fishbowl because literally they was like halfway underwater. And so I think that the Lions are going to have a much better season than everybody thinks, that they ran into a quarterback who knew how to deal with the blitz and was able to be elusive enough to win this game. I do not expect that this is going to happen later on. If we were to play the Lions in week 6 rather than week 1, we'd had a much bigger problem with them but the fact that we were in week 1, they did not have any tape to really go on with us, and they weren't prepared for Jalen Hurts taking off like that. They just weren't able to do that. But that being said, like I said, it's a win. We'll take the win any way that we can get it. A couple of other things that I saw here. We won the time of possession, 31 minutes to 28 minutes, 29 minutes. It was like 31 and a half to 28 and a half, obviously. That's always good. We need to get that. We won. We got a turnover. How about that? What a surprise. You know what that happened? That happened on a blitz. I'll be back to that in a minute. That the blitz actually worked. I got a lot more to say. A lot more to say about that. They were 10 for 17 on third down conversions, which was great. The fact that we can keep the offense on the field is a big deal and is going to help us moving forward. Obviously, this wasn't a very crisp game. We needed to. This is like I look at this as a preseason game. It is a for real preseason game. These records count. But yeah, you're just timing down, and it looked like that in the very first quarter where he went 0 for 7. I think the first 7 passes he just could not seem to connect. But they were they were able to do that, and like it says, get the points on the board, which was nice. And it did help. It did help that the defense gave us a couple of penalties, timely penalties, to be able to keep drives alive at a certain time. It really was. I can't really. If I was going to give grade to the offense, I'm going to give them a B minus. Like I said, I think that there are a lot better things that they could do. That they weren't very crisp. The routes were not great. They ultimately, Jalen Hurts has still got to be able to have some more protection, and they cannot let these guys come in here. He was running around a little bit. There was a number of plays where he had to get out of the pocket and just throw the ball out of bounds and things of that nature. So those are types of things that they're going to need to improve on. Overall, only 2 penalties, so they did play a fairly clean game. One was on a holding call on Mailata, which is a shame because I think he had one holding call all year long. He just had one play where he'd be able to get around him pretty quickly, and he just held him up and ultimately got called for it. But that was not a really big deal in the grand scheme of things, and it didn't really hurt them on that drive. That being said, let's talk about the defense. The defense is a little frustrating. It was a little frustrating. Obviously, the big play was the interception, the pick six. And I think I blame that a little bit more on Goff than I do on the Eagles defense, that he just did not see Bradbury. Bradbury grabs it and then just walks it right into the end zone. It was, like I said, it was right after a touchdown. So it was a big momentum swing. But obviously, there were some issues that I saw. Gannon. Let's talk about, I'm going to go back to 2001 for a minute. 2001, he had 18 blitzes. He threw out 18 blitzes. That wound up was good for 6 sacks. 33%, a lot more hurries. Final score 44-6. So the blitzes, we could say, arguably, the blitzes worked. 2022, 3 blitzes. 3 blitzes in total. You know what? All 3 of those blitzes worked. All 3 of them worked. Here's what happened on all 3 of these blitzes. The first blitz, a pick 6. Go figure. The second blitz was a tackle for a loss. The third blitz was a sack for 10 yards. 3 blitzes, all 3 worked. But the rest of the game, he switched between 3 and 4 defenders going up the field. And when you give any quarterback the amount of time that Goff had, he's going to wind up being good. Goff played okay. He did not play great. He played okay. But that was because he had plenty of time. I tell you, if I had as much time as he did back there, I could have thrown for like 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I can't throw the ball. But you cannot just rely on your defensive line to be able to get into the quarterback when you're rushing 3 guys and he's going up against. They had 6 guys. They had 3 guys. 3 offensive linemen for the Detroit Lions was out. Halavului Vaitai was out. They had 2 other guys. I don't even know what their names were out. 3 starters out. They had max protect every down. 6 and 7 guys on the line protecting for against 3 or 4. Well, you know what? You're not going to get many sacks when that happens. You're not going to get it. It's ultimately when you have 6 versus 4, typically the 6 win. They have a good offensive line over there. These guys are big guys. You're not going to be able to just get in there. Jordan Davis only playing 22 plays You know what? I understand. You got to do that. You want to ease him in there. You don't want to just have him out there all those time and such like that. That he's really one-dimensional, as we want to call that, where he's really can only rush the quarterback, and that's why Gannon doesn't want him in there all the time, because Gannon likes his tackles and his ends sometimes to stay home. Gannon, you need to change your philosophy. If you remember last year, we started this way out last year, and you didn't blitz. And what happened? We were getting crushed. You were getting quarterbacks throwing for 80%. I tell you, Kirk Cousins doesn't like to play on Monday Night Football, doesn't like to play when the cameras are on him. But I tell you, he is going to look like an amazing quarterback if we give him the same amount of time that Goff had. We have to get pressure. We have to dial up some blitzes. We have to be able to do it. And I tell you what, everybody has seen your film. They know that you don't like the blitz. So guess what? It would be a surprise. You'd catch them way off guard by blitzing. You need to blitz more, man. You need to blitz a lot more. I really do wish that he would have gotten a head coaching job, because I am not excited about our defensive coordinator. Last year, he was able to finally work it out after the defense cried. They literally had to cry. They had to bitch and complain about our defensive coordinator on how the fact that Fletcher Cox has got to stay home. He's got to stay home. What does Fletcher Cox do? He goes after the quarterback. You cannot continue all game long go 4 or 3 guys versus 6. Those 6 are always going to win, and it showed. They went 9 for 14 on third down conversions. Well, again, we were having a problem getting off the field. We had a problem getting off the field, and that's because Gannon's inability to tile up blitzes. Again, last year, 18 blitzes, 6 sacks, I think it was like 10 plays for loss during those 18 blitzes. 3 blitzes, all 3 blitzes worked. All 3 blitzes worked, and you don't want to dial them up. They scored 35 points. That offense wasn't that good. Swift had a very good game, was running the ball all over us. And your staying at home package didn't work really well against the run. Not even a little bit. And then ultimately you're rushing up, and after 4 seconds, 5 seconds, the receivers started to get open, because you can't continue to cover a guy. It doesn't matter how good the receivers are, or our defensive backs. It doesn't matter. They're going to get open. You have to change it up, Gary. You have to. There's no way that I'm going to let this slide all season long. Last year, it took us to 10 before you figured it out. You need to figure it out a lot faster. Giving up 35 points is not good. No good. No bueno here. We got to do better, and we got to start this week. There's no way that we can allow that much time against Cousins. If Cousins, I don't care how many cameras are on him, he's going to be able to look like a god if he gets that much time. We cannot do that. They got Jefferson. They got Rager over there now, who I'm sure is going to probably have a pretty good game, because he's all itching to play against us. They have a pretty good offensive line over there. They've got Thielen. He's another good receiver. They have a really good tight end. They've got Dalvin Cook as a running back. These guys are going to tear us apart. If you can't figure it out, Gannon, you need to start making something. You need to start changing your philosophy now, because we're going to do this. If the offense can score that many points and it be that close of a game, it's going to be too much of an issue. There you go. I tell you that, Ricky, you said a mouthful there. I miss Jim Johnson. You know what? But I also miss McDermott. McDermott also was pretty good at dialing up some blitzes. I know we didn't like him, but he was a good coach. You know what I mean? And he would dial up the blitzes. He actually worked. He was he got his tutelage under Johnson. So that's where all that stuff came. Why do you think the Bills are so good now? Mostly because of their defense. You know what I mean? Their defense definitely helps. It doesn't hurt that they have as strong as offense as they do, but their defense definitely takes care of business, and it showed against the Rams this past weekend too. I tell you. So I could talk for hours about this defense right now. It was very, very frustrating. They have to do better. They must do better. There's no way that we're going to be able to go up against some of these teams in the NFL and let up that many points. These quarterbacks are good quarterbacks. Yes, Cousins. Any quarterback that is playing in the NFL, a starter in the NFL, as we learned, it doesn't even have to be a really good starter. Geno Smith beats the Broncos, which I kind of called anyways. I said that I thought that the Seahawks were going to do it, that he was going to go in there and he wasn't going to have a really good game, Russell Wilson, because there's going to be too much emotion going on, way too much happening, and that the Seahawks were going to come out either with the W or make it very, very close. Did not happen. They did not win, and I think Denver is a fraud. I think Russell Wilson's not going to do well at all this season, and Denver's going to be like, oh, we just gave him this big contract. What are we going to do? You're going to cry a lot in Denver, I think, this year. But we ain't talking about that. We ain't talking about the Broncos. We're talking about the Birds. And that's, and like I said, a win's a win, as ugly as it was. Like I said, to be able to do it on Monday Night Football again, we are going to need to step up our defense. We're going to need to step up our defense. And we have the talent on the defense. Like I said, all you have to do is throw a fifth guy in there. 3 times. Only 3 plays did we throw a fifth guy in there, because I don't trust a blitz when you're on a three man front of one guy is not a blitz. That's not a blitz. 3-4 and a blitz of one guy doesn't count. I don't count that as a blitz because you're still 6-on-4. And then guess what? They were able to cover it most of the time. Only 1 sack. I mean, I think what was there, like 4 hurries, maybe. So it's like they have to blitz. They're going to have to blitz. Slay did get toasted a little bit, but I'm not blaming Slay. Ultimately, you can cover the guy for 4 seconds. When you got 6 seconds back in the pocket, they're going to wind up throwing that ball, and they're going to wind up completing it because the D-backs, you can't expect any defensive back. None. 0 defensive back. You could give me Deion Sanders, and Deion Sanders in his prime can't cover a receiver for 6 seconds. No way. There's no way. Nobody in the world's going to. Again, these receivers are good receivers. They're good receivers. They're getting paid a lot of money too. Really frustrating, very frustrating in total, and ultimately they're going to have to do better against Minnesota, who won their game. Obviously, that was it 23-7 or something like that. They did take care of business. I mean, I had Aaron Rodgers on my fantasy football bench, and he wound up only getting 5 points. Thank God I had him on the bench. You know what I mean? But if the Eagles right now need to get out into a fairly big lead, because did you notice something that happened for the very first time in a really long time? The NFC East won the lion's share of their games. Washington Redskins. Oh, I'm sorry. The Washington football. I'm sorry. The Commanders. That's right. The Washington Commanders wind up winning their game. Last second, Carson Wentz looking good, goes into Detroit this week. I think Carson Wentz is going to have a much bigger problem with the way that defense was playing. Obviously, it was Hurts that was getting away from those rushes. Carson Wentz isn't going to have that same ability. He's going to need to get rid of the ball much faster, and that's the problem with Carson Wentz, as we know here very well in Philadelphia. He likes to hold on to the ball, make plays to happen. Not going to be crazy. The Giants pull off, I guess, what you could call a fairly large upset against the Titans. I think that's more indicative of the Titans. Again, this is a week 1 game. I'm not putting as much stock into the Giants right now. However, good win by them. It was a good win by them and a gutsy call to go for 2. Very gutsy call to go for 2. Wind up pulling it out for them. And listen, good for them. Congratulations to the Giants. As of right this second, all 3 of us are tied for first place above the NFC East, because there was a big loss in Dallas. TB12 goes into Dallas, doesn't have a very good game. Only, 1 touchdown and 5 field goals. to get 19 points. Do you remember how long it seemed like a long time ago when 19 points seemed impossible to get in football? Now it happens all the time. I remember having like the 19 pools. Yeah, where you pick a team, and if that team happens to score 19 points first, it was $20. You had to put $20, and if you got the 19 points, then you got the win out of the 32 teams. And there would be seasons where nobody would score 19 points. I think there was 3 teams that scored 19 points this week. So ultimately, 19 points isn't as hard to go. But that being said, winds up going in there and beating them. Dallas looked poor. They looked poor. They just the running game wasn't 100%. Obviously, Dak Prescott got hurt. And I never want to see anybody get hurt. But it was interesting how that happened. 2 plays almost the exact same way, where when he went to throw the ball, the one defender got him and just was able to hold his hand back, and ultimately ended up. I had to imagine it tore something in his arm that they're going to have to surgically repair, and that's what's going to keep him out for 8 weeks. It's going to be a couple of more weeks after that before they go on there, and I would not be surprised that this is, not the best season for the Dallas Cowboys. They are already crying a lot as they're holding a bag of Doritos. Nacho year again. So bad, so sad. Bye, Dallas. Cooper Rush is not the answer there. He obviously looked like a deer in headlights last night or on Sunday night. Just was not ready for it. I don't trust that Tampa's looking very good either. That's going to be a little bit of a problem. Like I said, I think they're going to have a little bit of an issue. It is week 1 though. So everybody is not doing their best as we move forward here. So it's going to take, like I said, by week 5 is when everything's going to really come about. There was a couple of teams that looked really good. The only 2 teams that I could say looked very good in their first week was the Chiefs and the Bills. And I think that's a precursor to the AFC Championship game. So those 2 teams looked really good. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see any of the 1:00 games because I was a little busy. Excuse me. And then, of course, I got to watch a little bit of the Dallas game and then watch some of the game yesterday where I just kind of felt that it was going to be, that Denver giving up that first touchdown was huge, and that set the tone for the rest of the game as well. Yeah, I know, and that's because as I got out here talking about how Zeke had 5.3 yards a carry, I'm not going to talk much about the Cowboys here because this is a Philly show, not the Cowboys show. And they did stop running. But that's why I love your coach. Your coach is just mwah. But, I think he sucks. And I hope he's the Dallas coach forever. And Kellen Winslow, whatever or whoever it is that's calling the plays over there, beautiful. Does a great job. They suck. They suck over there. And I hope that they're the coaches for a very, very, very long time. I hope that Dak being hurt actually helps him keep his job. So on that note, real quickly, let's go and let's take a quick commercial break, and I'll be back to talk about the rest of sports in Philadelphia. There was a lot going on this past weekend. We had some Phillies. We had some Union. You know what? I don't even know if there's anything happened in Sixer land or Flyer land. I know that they're starting to get into camp and trickle into camp, and it's going to be interesting to see how the coach takes on that locker room, which is a little fractured at the moment, as he even said so himself. But in the meantime, let's go do these commercials, and we will be back right after these commercial messages.
And welcome to the Everyday GSD podcast. Today's special guest. Welcome to the Military Duty podcast.
A true, it's the man of the job, it's the man of anything. Success is based on participation. So I participate
Daily, yeah.
For those who don't know, it's Cold War era.
Anybody wants to hear anything I have to say, but you and I have a lot of great conversations.
Everyday GSD is more than just a podcast. It's a movement. It's a way of life. The show's guests come from all walks of life and all have the same everyday get shit done mentality in common. Many are former military special operators who are now everyday GSDing in their civilian life. Others are civilians who get shit done on a daily basis. Veteran, prior military, the goal is to motivate and inspire through like-minded guests sharing epic life stories. Ultimately, what we want the audience to realize is every day is an opportunity to get up and get shit done. My name is Darren Bebo, and I everyday GSD.
This is Jonica, and I everyday GSD.
My name is Mike Rebell, and I everyday GSD.
This is Jeffrey Barnett, and I everyday GSD.
This is Wojo, and I everyday GSD.
This is Jake, and I everyday GSD.
My name is Hannah Gaber, and I everyday GSD.
This is Rachel, and I everyday GSD.
My name's Keith Dixon, and I everyday GSD.
My name's Kyle McCord, and I everyday GSD.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboys fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, from Brooklyn. Hey, get any...
And we are back. Just something else that I wanted to mention. This Friday at the Navy Yard, I am going to be in a culinary competition. Yes, you heard that right. The Philly Sports Guy is going to be paired up with a celebrity chef, and we're going to be cooking up some food over in the Navy Yard. This is going to benefit the Department of Agriculture, Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. This is being run by Jessica DeLuise, who is the wellness kitchenista. She does Eat Your Way to Wellness and does a lot of good food. Different chefs are going to be there. Chef Tony Luke, Chef Ruben, Chef Steak. All these guys. Are you going to have Power 99 there, Cheryl Cappuccino, myself? It's going to be a lot of fun in general, and it is going to, the Department of Agriculture for Pennsylvania. You can go to the Navy Yard. You can get tickets there. It's going to be it's like a swinger event from the Roaring 20s. Like I said, it's going to be like a Gatsby style event. So wear your best Gatsby gear, get a ticket. Come watch the Philly Sports Guy cook up something special for you. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to do that. Like I said, when they're pairing me up with a chef, a Michelin, trained chef. And then the Philly Sports Guy, I expect to learn a lot that day. It's going to be a lot of fun in total. Definitely come on out. Again, if you haven't seen that, again, go to the yard, the URBN campus at 500 South Broad Street in Building 543. It is a 7 to 10 on this Friday, September 16th. That being said, there was some more sports that happened this past weekend. The Phillies, last time we spoke was on like a Thursday or like Wednesday, where the Phillies won a couple of games against the Marlins. They did lose that Thursday game. And then Friday, the Washington Nationals come in. And this year against the Nationals, doesn't it seem like we haven't even lost a game against them? I mean, I'm sure we have. I don't know what the record is. I didn't check that all out. But they sweep the Nationals this weekend. Starts on Friday, where they win that game 5-3. Real Muto and Hoskins both hit dingers in that one. On Saturday, it was a home run brigade. Schwarber with his 37th. Marsh hits his 10th. Matten hits his 4th. Harper hits his 16th. Just that was all day. They win that game 8-5. And on Sunday, you have Bohm hitting a 2-run home run after a very long. It was a very, very long rain delay. I knew that, when it comes to this time of the season, they're going to have rain delays that are going to be really long because they have to get these games in. They don't have much time to be able to make up games. So if they have the opportunity to get it in, they're going to get it in. And ultimately, after that rain delay, Bohm obviously was a little rested up, kept himself hot, and next thing you know, hits a 2-run home run and winds up winning that game 7-5. Rhys Hoskins also gets a home run in that game. Currently, the Phillies have a 1.5 game lead over San Diego in the wild card and 3.5 game lead over Milwaukee to be out of the playoffs. It's looking more and more. First off, I think Milwaukee is toast. I don't think that they're going to be doing very well at all here in the stretch. They have a lot of divisionals, and they've been getting beat up by their division a little bit. They just don't have the strength to be able to stay there. And I think that the Padres just have too many bats to be able to lose too frequently. I know that they have another 4-game series, I think, or maybe it's just 4 games in total against the Dodgers and the Giants, who also have had their number a little bit. So I think that it's possible that we're going to be seeing the Phillies and the Braves in that wild card, that 3-game wild card in Atlanta, and it's going to determine if we're going to be able to get into the second round there. I'd like to be able to see us do that. I would like to see the Cardinals then beat San Diego, and also go up against the Dodgers. I think we go up against the Dodgers fairly well. They are constructed the exact same way that we are, and we seem to be able to hit their pitching. So I'm all excited to see how we do against the Braves, who we've actually done pretty well. We have a couple of series coming up here. Sorry, Jack, I'm doing my show right now. We have a couple of shows, like I said, a couple of series coming up against the Braves still. So it's going to be a good telltale on whether we are able to really hang with them in the playoffs or if it's going to be a little tough moving forward here. The Union also played this weekend, and they took on Orlando, and they crushed it again, 5-1. I mean, just the last few games, they have just been crushing. And I know that they haven't been playing good teams. You can only play who you're up against, but they literally have been killing it against all these teams. Right now, the Union, let me see where we're at here. I want to go into a little bit of a deep dive on the Union itself. Right now, they have the number 1 in the league. That first off, we scored 2. It's got us listed at 2 goals. That's because in the beginning of the season we didn't score a lot of goals and such like that. But we are number 1 in goals for the season, and we've just been crushing them. I mean, here's the last scores. Here's the scores of the last games since our loss to Dallas 1-0 on the 17th of August. We've won 6-0, 6-0, 4-1, 2-0. 5-1. Now we go up against Atlanta, who we just beat 4-1. We're going to be in Atlanta on Saturday, the 17th, this Saturday coming up. And afterwards, like I said, there's only 2 more games after that. So we have a couple of weeks off. We go up against Charlotte and Toronto. And then it goes for the MLS Cup. And the MLS Cup, it could be in Philadelphia. Right now, we are tied with LA for the Shield. I think LA has got the win advantage against us, but LAFC, I know that there's 2 teams in LA, but it's LAFC. That looks like it could be a precursor to the MLS Cup, which could be played either in LA or in Philly. And, it's happening on the week. It's probably going to happen on a Sunday, and it's happening on the week that the Eagles play on Thursday night in Houston. So you're going to be able to get to see in full effect the Union if they make it to the MLS Cup. I can't imagine that they're going to be losing these games. It's like I said, they've just been crushing the competition right now and been doing everything that they need to do to be able to move forward here. And I fully expect that we're going to be in the MLS Cup against the LAFC. So that being said, let me go over a couple of other scores from this weekend for in the NFL. Like I said, there was a lot happening in the NFL. A couple of surprises. First off, Matty Ice on his first game as a Colt, they end up in a tie, 2020. Weak sauce. Can't even beat the lowly Texans. I know that's a division rival. I do not expect Matty Ice is again, new faces in new places doesn't always equate to wins, and that's obviously what happened. Doesn't necessarily equate to a loss either, but they tie at 2020. The Browns outlast the Panthers 26-24. Baker Mayfield doesn't get to do his thing. A little bit of sketch at the end of the game there where a phantom roughing the passer call, and then the intentional grounding that didn't happen where he went back to pass and then spiked the ball. Not the way that's supposed to go. Can't do it that way. He should have really thrown it out of bounds in the opposite direction, and they did not call that penalty either. They got a lot of help from the referees. It should have been a loss of down. That game should have been over, but did not happen. He winds up kicking a 50-some yard field goal to win that game. Playing in a fishbowl, the 49ers and Trey Lance gets beat by the Chicago Bears. Like I said, it was in a fishbowl. Some of the water that was just coming in there, yes, I hear you. That game was a little. I have to say that I don't know where those calls were coming from, but it was ugly. That was ugly. Am I going to be booing him on Monday? He's not on my team, so I don't necessarily boo, but I could definitely try to get in his ear and let him know that he's going to muff that punt. The last punt he went to try to get for us, he muffed. If you remember in the playoff game, that was the last punt return he went to have here. So, that being said, the Commanders beat the Jaguars 28-22. Doug Peterson had the lead at one point. It was 22-21, and then, of course, he gets beat by Carson Wentz. I got to imagine that was a very interesting game in general. Of course, I didn't get to see any of it, but the fact that Carson Wentz went down and got a game-winning drive to win the game, that's not something that he's used to doing. He didn't do it very much here in Philly, but he's at a different team, new face, new place. They get the win there. The Miami Dolphins beat the New England Patriots 20-6. Didn't look good in this. In the little bit of highlights I saw, they both kind of stunk. PU. So I expect that they're going to be bringing up the bottom. Maybe the Jets are going to be holding them all up, but I think that's going to be a terrible division. It's short of the Bills, where the Bills are going to just run away with that division, and they're going to probably have that division championship by week 13, because I don't expect that the Dolphins or the Patriots or the Jets are going to be able to even contest that. They're probably going to be all around 500 or below 500, and the Bills are going to have maybe two or three losses by that point. So they could have that division wrapped up by week 13 or 14. The Steelers and the Bengals. How about that one? How many interceptions did he really throw? I wanted to see that. He threw 4 interceptions, sacked 7 times. First, you know what that tells me? They still have problems on their offensive line. That 7 sacks, 4 interceptions. Steelers, it cost the Steelers, though. The Steelers have a couple of big injuries. I mean, I think that, Watt is out for the season with a torn pec. Another guy on that defense or maybe that offensive line all did not do very well. Like I said, he wound up getting hurt. So, unfortunately, that was a very costly win for them. But they do beat the Super Bowl, the guys who went to the Super Bowl, and the Cincinnati Bengals 23-20 in overtime. The Ravens beat the Jets. No surprise there, 24-9. The Saints come back against the Falcons and win that game 27-26. Again, this was a game that was won in the last minute or last second time. The Falcons were up 26-24. Saints wind up getting that field goal at the end to win that game. The one game where 5 touchdown passes by Mahomes in the Chiefs versus the Cardinals. So much for that big contract that what's his face got. Didn't matter because they didn't have the team to go up against the Chiefs. They come out and crush the Cardinals 44-21. The big surprise, the Giants 21-20 over the Titans. We'll talk about that, this week. I'm going to be doing hour-long shows this week, at least today and tomorrow, just to make up. I want to talk more about the NFC East in total. I want to talk about some of these games a little bit more specific, and especially how the Eagles are going to be able to move forward here this season. Vikings beat the Packers in pretty dominant form, 23-7. The Packers obviously just were not this game, and I don't know that they're going to be ready anytime. Did not look very good. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers had 5. What's going on? Everybody's calling me right now. Don't they know I do a podcast here? They, like I said, just beat him up all game long, and it's going to be a tough matchup coming up here in moving forward this Monday night against the Vikings. Chargers beat the Raiders 24-19 in, let's play for a tie game. That's obviously last year. This year, the Chargers get back at the Raiders and win game 1. I'm not sure if the Raiders are going to be any good this year. I think that the Chargers are going to wind up in second place in that division. I still think the Chiefs are the class of that division specifically. And, of course, that Sunday night game was Tampa Bay 19, the Cowboys 3. And then yesterday, like I said, everybody chanting Geno, Geno. In Russell's ear. Bye-bye, Russell. That the honeymoon is over in Denver. You just lost to the lowly Seahawks, who have the biggest odds to have the worst record in the NFL. Good for you there, Russell. Way to do that. I knew that was going to be the case. It was just going to be way too much happening in, with Russell, too much emotion going back there, and ultimately they wound up getting the win in Seattle. To the happiness, there was much rejoicing in Mudville by all the Seahawks fans, and I have a ton of them who actually may be watching this show right now. Like I said, they had a very good game, and they wound up winning, which I was really happy about because, like I said, I don't think Denver's as good as they advertise. And as of right this second, the Seahawks are the leaders in the clubhouse in the AFC West, as everybody, or in the NFC West, as everybody else in the NFC West lost. Amazing stuff. It's amazing how the NFL works sometimes. Ultimately, like I said, I think that this is preseason. This is preseason. You can't put too much stock into the wins or the losses. That teams are going to be able to turn it around. I expect that the Rams are going to have a big turnaround this week. I also think that there are going to be other teams that are just going to turn it on a lot better. I don't believe that the Washington Commanders are as good as they think they are. I don't think that the Bears are as good as they think they are. I think that they played in 17 inches of water. The water was coming up to their knees just about. The fact that they were forced to play that game was ridiculous. But, I also, the drainage on that field just looked horrendous. The fact I don't know how they did that whole thing, but to play that game, they should have postponed it a little bit, waited till the rain was over or something. But I don't know. All being said, did you? Is that what it is? That we were getting the next calling? Yeah, it's it's funny to me. I said that I thought that the AFC West was not going to be as good as advertised. That you have the Chiefs, and I kind of believe a little bit in San Diego. I just think that that defenses could really go up against San Diego, and if you know what you're doing against that team, you're going to be able to win those games. You got to pressure Herbert up the middle. And that's where you're going to get him. So you have to give A and B gap pressure to get him off of his game. And the Raiders just weren't able to do that yesterday or on Sunday. So they wound up losing that game. That being said, I think that that's going to come true, and there's going to be better defenses that get at that. And yeah, I think that the Chargers will make the playoffs, but wind up as the number 2 in that division. And I'm not sure about the Broncos or the Raiders. I'm just not believing in either one of those teams. We'll see how they go. New coaches, new quarterbacks cause problems. You got to learn that, the schemes and things like that. And I kind of believe that that's just not going to be as good a division as everybody touts it to be, where, it's all possible that 4 teams make the playoffs. Not at all. Not at all. But like I said, that being said, going back to the NFC side, I do think that the Lions are a much better and much improved team. They're going to have to figure out the defense. They're going to have to start to work out things a little bit better. Again, I feel that the running quarterback of Jalen Hurts really hurt them with the amount of pressure they were putting on. If they put that same type of pressure on Carson Wentz, he's going to fold like a chair. And there you're going to see the Lions with their first win this year. And like I said, I have the Lions in second place. After watching, I thought that Green Bay was taking a step back. I still believe that. I feel that they're going to be taking a big step back. Aaron Rodgers is only going to be able to do so much. He's not going to be able to win. Yes. Yep. And they were very raucous. They were very raucous. And I don't know if anybody saw on Barstool the big fight that happened between Lions fans. They were all Lions fans that were in there, and they were fighting each other. It was they were a little heated about that game. And ultimately, like I said, I love the Lions fan base. I am friends with a lot of those guys out there. I want to thank Tracy for getting me a seat down closer to her. We wound up on the news. They had us on TV and stuff like that, all that type of fun stuff. I wound up 2 rows away from the field, which was great. And all the Detroit fans took to me very well. Like I said, that they are, we're the same. They're working class people. So are the guys in Philly. Like I said, we're working class fan bases. We care a lot about our sports. Like I said, we are the same people, and that's what makes that great. That's what makes football great. We're not sitting there. We're not white collar people. We actually, when you shake somebody's hand, when you shake another guy's hand, their hand is rough. You're not shaking somebody's hand who feels like a baby's bottom. You know what I mean? We actually work for a living, and that's what makes Detroit guys so great. Like I said, it's a lot of fun hanging with them, and I really do appreciate all the hospitality they gave me this weekend. Like I said, going and partying with them up in Detroit. Detroit's a great town if you get a chance to get up there. That being said, we'll be back again tomorrow, where we will go a little bit deeper dive. I'll show you some of the clips that I was able to get from the game itself. I did get a couple of the touchdowns, so I wanted to show them. I didn't want to show them today because I have to still edit them and do all those fun things. But it is, like I said, it's a lot of fun, and we're going to be talking about how the Vikings did in their game and what we can expect this Monday night, which I expect that the Eagles crowd and the Eagles faithful is going to be absolutely amazing. And I know that the Vikings haven't been here, haven't been in Philadelphia since, 2018 in January. That game did not work out so well for them. 38-7. En route to a Super Bowl victory. Now, we've played them a couple of times. The last time we played them was in 2018 in Minnesota, and they had our number that day. They beat us pretty handily. I do not expect that that's going to be the case this week. I think that hopefully Gannon is going to be able to pull it out and figure out the defenses, and we're going to make Cousins pay all game long. So everybody, thank you very much for hanging with me today. I'll see you tomorrow at 8:30 again, where we're going to be doing an hour-long episode of the Philly Sports Guy Show. Thank you very much, and have a great day, guys. And as always, go Philly. Yeah.